really some breaking news. And Dad, that is the special counsel's report. Robert Hur, who was looking into the classified documents found all over different Biden properties. This one specifically found in his garage at his home. And it wasn't so much about the damaging part about this wasn't so much, or the legally damaging part about this wasn't so much about the classified documents, because as Hur notes, there's an Office of Legal Policy memo that says you don't criminally prosecute a sitting president.
And we use that during the Trump investigation as well, that you cannot indict a sitting president.
But he went further and said you couldn't indict this sitting president anyways because
he basically not competent to stand trial. I don't want to be making fun of his mental capacity, but this is what they wrote. On page 208, they said that he did not know when his vice presidency ended, and during his investigation and his interview with the special counsel, he actually asked if he was still vice president. This is sad and tragic, and this is where the family of the president needs to get in and say, round 2 of this is not a good idea.
The special counsel also took into consideration, you said, the sympathetic elderly man with a poor memory, and it would be difficult to convince a jury that they should convict him by then a former president into his 80s of a serious felony that requires, and this is what's tough too, a mental state of willfulness. So does he have the mental capacity? It brings it into question. Is he mentally capable to be president of the United States of America? This is now a real issue for him.
This is the end of his ability to run for the second term, because what the finding is that the president willfully retained and disclosed classified documents. But then what he's really saying is, but he's not competent to stand trial for this because he had diminished capacity. And this is the president of the United States we're talking about. And that results then in a jury not being able to find criminal intent.
Yeah. Folks,
this is huge.
Obviously, he was very angry about this report because this is one of the biggest issues clouding him is not the classified documents. It's not even Hunter Biden. It's not even his policies. It's whether or not he's fit to be president.
I'm not making fun of his diminished capacity, but the special counsel appointed by his Justice Department has come up with that conclusion, and he's running for and he's the president of the United States, which means he probably should not be the president of the United States. Remember when they tried to apply the 25th Amendment against President Trump? That's when the cabinet can get together and remove the president, or at least temporarily suspend the president. This has those kind of earmarks on the situation. It's very dangerous for the country.
Here's the question. Who is running the White House?
A bunch of 27-year-old
It's not Harris.
No, and it's
not Lloyd Austin. He was gone for a week and a half and no one even knew.
We've got 2 wars and an open border going on, an economy that's in terrible shape. So I want to know who is making these decisions, because clearly it doesn't look like Joe Biden is completely in control of all of this. So who is? Who are these people that we need to hold accountable? Because that's our role, is to hold our government accountable. You know, we've seen the Secretary of Defense kind of secretly go into the hospital, not hand off his responsibilities. When you look at Joe Biden and his problems, and you look at the Secretary of Defense, I think it's a legitimate question to say, who's in charge? Who is the one that's making these decisions, and how do we start talking to him or her?
Doesn't have the mental acuity to be able to show criminal intent. You should not be president of the United States. I'm not saying this without a disrespect. We've all had family members that have suffered mental capacities or dementia or Alzheimer's. It's serious, and I'm not saying he has either one of these. But the special counsel said at his residence, when asked about being vice president, not only did he not recall the date that he was no longer vice president, he said, "Am I the vice president now?" He said that to them affirmatively.
The 345-page report by Special Counsel Robert Hur was more damaging in many respects than an indictment. After all, Biden, according to Hur, willfully retained classified documents after his vice presidency about military and foreign policy. He used those documents in connection with a conversation he had with a private citizen, a biographer. He used those documents with respect to writing a book for which he received, I believe, an $8 million advance. So I think there's much to talk about here, But at the end of the day, it's a very, very sad situation for the United States.
The mainstream media, the CNNs, the MSNBCs, even with the Supreme Court case last night, this was, Andy, all they were talking about. Yeah. How damaging this is politically. It would have been better, they said, for the special counsel to say he should be tried of a crime. We can't do it because he's a sitting president, but rather than this diminished mental capacity conclusion.
Yeah, I'm not a political prognosticator. I'm a lawyer, but it does seem to me that if special counsel should have just said, under the DOJ guidelines and regulations, we can't try a sitting president and leave it at that. But when he went into what Harry pointed out to, and I think correctly, that this is an indictment, essentially, not just a special counsel report, he transcended that and went into areas that have political implications for the presidency. I think it's a sad moment in the history of an empire, of a nation that's the greatest since the British Empire, maybe the Roman Empire, and we have to have somebody at the helm who's able to really direct affairs.
With Christian compassion, you feel sorry for the man and for his family. But as to running the government, you say, for our nation, this is not the way it can be. This is not the way it can be.